What it be, what it be, what it do, what it do. It's your host, Dave, with the Dave and Blues Show. Tell your mama, your cousin, and your bro to like, share, and subscribe to the Dave and Blues Show. We lit! Yeah! Alright, here we go. It's Saturday afternoon. You know what time it is. Pre-game preview. Michigan Wolverines football versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Week 4, away game in Lincoln, Nebraska, where the environment is always lit and their fans always show up because they seem to sell out every home game imaginable ever. So, we're in for our second road test of the season and our opening gameplay in Big Ten Conference play. So, we are going to look into some stats. We're going to look into a few of my major keys and see how those stats line up and what we have to do. And I will give you guys my pregame prediction as always. And we'll see how it goes, man. So let's go. All right, so starting off, we're going to look a little bit at Nebraska's offensive line and their offense in general and kind of see where they are. So their average offensive line weight is around, I believe it says 315 and 320. So they have a big offensive line, man. They have a big offensive line, so we're going to have to work to get by them. But they average about 178 rushing yards a game, so we'll start off with rushing yards, that type of thing. Their main running back is Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson has 326 rushing yards over the season so far, so he's a solid back. He's probably the best running back we're going to see so far. Of these first 4 weeks, he's going to be the best running back we've probably seen. We didn't see much from Jaden. I don't know if that was because Oklahoma, he was still injured, or if they just decided not to run him or whatever, or if our defensive line is really just that stout. But regardless, I believe Emmett Johnson is going to be the best running back we see so far, but I'm not overly concerned about stopping their run game, given the fact that we average 89. Our defense only allows 89 rushing yards a game. And granted, we played two or at least one really bad team in Central Michigan. And also we played Oklahoma, and John Mateer was most of their rushing attack. And New Mexico, they didn't. We just stopped their run altogether. But regardless, our defensive line is good. So stopping the run, I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. But still, we have to stop the run. We have to make sure they can't run. We have to make sure that we, are able in pass coverage, though, to really stop them, because that's, I think, where they're going to make their hay. They're going to really take their stand as trying through the passing game, trying our defensive backs. Dylan Raiola is on a tear right now. 829 passing yards over the season, 76.6% completion rating. He's averaging 276 passing yards per game, and I think he has 8 touchdowns and no interceptions so far. He has no interceptions so far, 8 touchdowns. So, granted, they haven't faced a defensive backfield like ours, and yeah, sure, we may not be the most locked down defensive backfield in the country yet. I say yet because I think by the end of the season we're going to be looking completely different. But still, as of yet, they haven't faced a defensive backfield like ours. So I think that though they have about 6 receivers that are at 100 yards or more. And their 5 main receivers all have 100 yards plus, and then they have a running back who has 93 receiving yards. So about 6 people with about 100 yards. I'm just going to round up 93 to 100. Why not? So our defensive backs, that's one of our major keys, right? Don't fall for double moves. And another thing is the defensive backs are going to have to be ready for a fight, because I don't think Nebraska is going to be able to get it done through their running game against us, but I think that they're going to challenge us with passing, whether that be intermediate passing, deep passing. I think they're going to try and pass us to death and really force our corners and safeties to work. Now, I've heard that we may get Rod Moore back this week, and depending on how healthy he is, if Rod Moore is really able to contribute today, if Rod Moore is fully healthy and really playing like he is, that's going to be very, very impactful and beneficial for our defensive backs and our defense in general, because he's like an extra coach on the field is what I've always heard. Rod Moore is out there, is like a second coach on the field. He knows the defense. He's played a lot of football. He's seen what other teams are going to try to do, so he knows what to do. And And that's only benefiting our defensive backfield because our safeties have not struggled. Honestly, our safeties have looked solid all year, and just adding in even more knowledgeable and arguably our best safety back into the defense is that's going to be crucial, and that's really good. So if he's able to go and he's really able to play and he has no limitations, then that's going to throw a wrench in what Nebraska's pass offense is going to look like for this game. Like, Rayola's going to have to think twice about throwing deep passes. But then again, I mean, he's been taking what the defense gives him all season. Like, he wants to stand in there and throw it, but they're going to try and beat Michigan with the quick game and see what we do to limit our pass rush. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Their leading receivers, Dane Key, and they have another receiver that's pretty good too, Ja'Cory. I have his name here. Ja'Cory Barney Jr., as well as Neziah Hunter. So these three receivers are all above 160 receiving yards. So that means that they're getting the ball. They're getting some solid targets. All of their targets are in the teens, so they've been getting the ball thrown their way, and they're making stuff happen. So our DBs are going to have to be ready because Nebraska's going to try to stretch them and stretch the field and get us, discombobulated with their passing attack. But then again, like I said before, their best competition has been Cincinnati. And to my knowledge right now, Cincinnati's defense, at least their defensive, Sauce Gardner's not out there. So, I mean, we'll see, So, they haven't been tested yet, really, and we have. That's one beneficial thing is that Michigan's been through a grinder outside of their home field. They've been into a raucous away environment in a night game, so they kind of should be ready to go into Lincoln, Nebraska, and be ready, because they already were in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma not last week, but 2 weeks ago. So I think that the away environment factor, at least for the defense, their factor is not going to be that massive because it's a little bit quieter when the defense is out there because they want their offense to be able to hear. So the defense can also hear their own signals and calls and that type of thing. So I think that the defense is not going to be confused or anything like that. I think it's really going to make a difference on our interior defensive line pass rush, right? Because, yes, they've been rushing Jayshawn Barham off of the edge. Yes, that has been beneficial. But also, we cannot solely rely on Jayshawn Barham to be all of our quarterback pressure for the entire season. We need Derek Moore and TJ Guy to step it up. Because we know that they can be elite. They've been elite before. Granted, they had help from the interior. So again, I say, interior defensive line needs to help. The interior defensive line really needs to get push on Dylan Raiola. Push on the interior of that Nebraska offensive line and really make them work. They don't have to get a sack every play. You don't have to get a sack every play, but we need you in Raiola's face, giving him pressure, because Raiola can run, but Raiola is not John Mateer. He's not a mobile dual threat quarterback that's just going to zip around at the first instant there's pressure. He's not going to break your defense apart by running. So that takes away a little bit of the pressure that we have to deal with of chaos during a play, and we need to be the ones creating that chaos for Dylan Raiola so he can either quickly get the ball out or miss a read or force something that's not there or just throw it out of bounds or try and scramble and get hit. We need to be constantly hitting him. We need to be constantly hitting him in his face. Pressure. Interior defensive line pressure is going to be key. Okay? They do have a big offensive line. I don't know necessarily how good they are. But from what I saw, I believe when I was watching the Cincinnati, I think that Cincinnati's defensive line was able to get some pressure through Nebraska's offensive line. So, because if we can, and Cincinnati's defensive line, respectfully, is not Michigan's defensive line. As much as it looked like they struggled or haven't gotten pressure, our defensive line is still solid. They're giving up only 89 rushing yards a game, and they played against Oklahoma already. So the numbers are skewed, yes, because we've had 2 weak opponents. But New Mexico beat UCLA, and I don't care how you slice it or dice it. A Power 4 team in UCLA shouldn't be beaten. New Mexico beat them by 25. So that's essentially kind of a blowout. Not a shutout. It's kind of a blowout. So if New Mexico was really good and UCLA should have been more talented across the board than New Mexico, that means that, Michigan should be causing problems. Our defensive line should be causing problems here. And, so that basically, that's it. We need real interior pressure from the defensive line to throw off their passing attack. But they're going to try again with the quick passes, maybe outs, quick screens, quick slants, that type of thing. They're going to try and beat us with the quick passing game so that our defense doesn't have time to really get to Raiola. And they're going to try and thwart our defensive pressure from the line anyway, like that. So we need to be ready, and our DBs really need to be ready for a battle. They need to be ready for a fight. I said our major key was for the DBs not to get beat on double moves and that type of thing, and that's true. And we're also going to add on to that, they need to be ready for a fight. Because Nebraska is going to try, and I believe they're going to try and pass us, just keep passing and throw us off with a quick game, because they're not going. I don't think they're going to be able to run on us. So our DBs are going to have to be ready, and I think they will be. I think it's going to be more of a challenge. I don't think Raiola is going to throw 76% completion rating today. I don't think so. If our defense can, again, and another key we had was creating turnovers. If our defense can create some turnovers here, that can be the difference between and winning the game or losing. I think we're going to win the game, but I'll give my prediction later on, of course. So that's it on defense, right? Our major keys, right? You have to hit those every week. We have to hit our major keys, and I think we can do it. Establishing the line of scrimmage on offense is going to be key. It's going to be really important for us to be able to do that as well. So moving on to the offensive side of the ball, their defensive line is undersized. And their top 3 leading tacklers are defensive backs. So they have 2 guys that are defensive backs. Deshaun Singleton and Rex Guthrie are leading their team in total tackles. That's individual tackles and assisted tackles. They both have 12. And then the third defensive back, Andrew Marshall, has 11 tackles. So that means that either teams are passing on them or teams are getting running backs up past the line of scrimmage and getting to them, right? So, I mean, that could also mean that their DBs are crashing down, that type of thing. But if your DBs are leading in tackling, that can't be a good thing. Your linebackers and defensive linemen should at least be in the top 3 or top 5 for tackles. And, their top 3 tacklers, leading tacklers on the team, are defensive backs. So I don't think that's a great omen for Nebraska going into our game. And they're allowing 202 rushing yards a game. And I'll tell you right now, if you're allowing 202 rushing yards a game, and mind you, only one of those games was against, was against, I believe, Cincinnati's Power 4, then that's not great, man. Because Michigan, we have Bryce Underwood, we have McCulley and Samaj and Klein and Hansen and our receivers, but Michigan is always going to be a run heavy team, and they're going to find a way to run the ball. And Justice Haynes is, I believe, top 5 in the country in rushing yards. He's got 388 rushing yards on the season right now. To this point, he's averaging 129 yards a game. And he can break a big run. He's broken a big run against every team he's played so far. 2 of those teams are not that great. One of those teams was Oklahoma, though. And Oklahoma has a great defense. He broke a 75-yard touchdown run against Oklahoma. If Nebraska can't stop the run, they're cooked. So we need to establish the line of scrimmage offensively and really we're going to have some guys still out, and our offensive line is still shuffling around. But as of right now, the injury report hasn't come out. but I know for a fact that El Hadi is not playing today. And I think they said Norton might be playing today, so we'll see. But the younger guys looked good. Guarnero looked good. Frazier, Sprague. I mean, our offensive line, they can get it done. Their average defensive line weight is 275, guys. And some of them are 265, that type of thing. So they're not a big defensive line. So they're not seeming to get much pressure on the run game. And they better hope. I mean, I hope if we get up quickly and we can hold their offense down, and we can just, I think looking at the way our offense was moving and the way our offense was functioning last week against Central Michigan, yes, the caveat again, it's Central Michigan. But still, we've struggled in the past against teams that are that level, and we've never just blown them out recently like that. But again, if our offense looks as wide open and dynamic as it did last week, and Bryce is able to run the ball on some of these off schedule QB sneak or scrambles on the passing game, especially if they're in man coverage, Nebraska's gonna be in for a long day. Cause Bryce Underwood that brother can run if he has to. Most of his rushing yards last week came from plays that were off schedule. They were not designed quarterback runs. So that throws off a defense's timing and really makes them game plan differently. So if the threat of the QB run is there, which now it is because they said they gave him a green light, they seemingly have grown and graduated from those fears they had against Oklahoma, and they're just going to let them play. If they were telling the truth about that, then we're going to have an open game plan, which was another one of our keys, is having an open and free game plan and play calling. If they let Bryce run if he needs to, he's not going to run 15 times a game like Mateer was against us. But if he can run a solid 7 or 8 or 7 to 10, and those aren't designed runs, like if the receivers aren't able to create separation, because Nebraska has the best pass defense in the country as of right now. Caveat being, they haven't faced a passing attack that's overly or truly dynamic. I'm not claiming that we have a dynamic passing attack yet. Maybe later on in the season or maybe next year. But they still haven't faced a Donovan McCulley yet. They still haven't faced Samaj. And as much as people want to clown our passing attack and that type of thing, we still have Division I receivers, and we've been seeing some bright spots. And if you can't get to Bryce, he's shown the ability to draw defenders in with the threat of the run, and he hits them over the top or in the intermediate with a good solid pass. So they have to be prepared. I say we, again, pass to open up the run. They're going to sell out to stop the run and try to make Bryce beat you. Start off throwing them off. Just like the Central Michigan game, the first attempt was a 50 or 40-yard pass. Maybe not that to start the game off, but if you want to, immediate play action in the short or intermediate route. But start off with the play action because they're going to be selling out to stop the run anyway. Start off with the play action. Hit Samaj. Hit Channing Goodwin. Hit Donovan McCulley. Hit Klein. Hit Clint Hansen. Shoot. Hit Max Bredesen. Hit Haynes. Anyone. Throw them off. Start off with passing a little bit to set up the run. Because if you start off with the run, they're already going to be in an eight-man box because they're going to try to force you to beat them with the pass throughout the game. So they're going to sell out to stop the run. They're going to load the box as much as they can. And if you take the top off immediately, say we start off with a play-action pass, and that goes for 25 yards or so, they have to think, okay, we can't sell out to stop the run, and then boom, that 202 rushing yard average they've been giving up every game against Michigan, we're already averaging 242 rushing yards a game. So that's not looking good for them. We can get pushed with the patchwork offensive line now because we do have offensive linemen that are pretty big dudes. So obviously every offensive line is big, but they're 20 pounds heavier or so. Our offensive line average weight is 311 or so. That's more than 20 pounds heavier than their average defensive lineman. So we can get it going. I don't want to come off as overconfident about this game or anything because we still have to see it. But you take into account that, yes, Nebraska's been hearing, oh, we can't beat a ranked team. We're 0-27 against ranked opponents recently. Yeah, they're going to be motivated by that, and they're going to want to prove that wrong. But Michigan's been hearing, oh, Michigan is not a road team. Oh, they got murdered by Oklahoma. They're just going to go to this away game, and even though they're favored, they're going to just lose to Nebraska just because. You don't think they're hearing that too? Michigan is, yeah, they're favored, but still the majority of the national media I've been hearing is, oh, Nebraska's going to win. Yeah, Michigan's got a better offensive line or a strong offensive line compared to Nebraska's defensive line. Michigan's averaging a lot of rushing yards. Oh, but Nebraska's got Raiola and those receivers. They're going to beat them. Huh? Like, come on. So, I think, yeah, the away game environment is going to be a big deal. But, again, Bryce was not rattled against Oklahoma. Bryce Underwood was not rattled against Oklahoma. The play calling, the coaches may have been... No, the coaches were too conservative. So they went into the game not even rattled. They just went into the game like, let's just keep it level. Let's just run. Screen pass, run. Here's one play action every four or five drives if you want. That's not going to work, and they know that. They learned from that. So, and again, I'm telling you right now, Justice Haynes is breaking a big one. He's done it every game this season. I don't see it stopping today. Justice Haynes is going to break a 40-plus yard run. So, that's just going to happen. It's happened every game this season. So, Nebraska's just going to have to be ready for that. So, also, special teams. Their special teams are pretty solid, I've heard. Their kicker is 6 for 6 on field goals, I believe it is. I believe he's 6 for 6 on field goals or something like that. So their kicker is solid. Zavada missed a couple this year. He's 4 for 6. I still am. I don't believe I'm overly worried about Zavada. Because he's going to have plenty of chances. I don't think he just up and just absolutely loses all the momentum he had from last year. And though he's missed 2 field goals, he's still, got the entire season left ahead of him. This is only week 4. They still have 8 more games. So we'll see how that goes. We do need our punt return and kick return. We need Samaj, please. God, please let Samaj just be careful with the ball as he's returning these punts because I love him. I think he's awesome. He's one of my favorite players on the team, like I've said before. But that brother is terrifying to me when he's on punt returns. It's just like, dude, either catch the ball or leave it, but just don't. This is not high school. You can't just out-athletic everyone and just wait for the ball to bounce and then step back and then sprint up and grab it and go. That's not going to work in college. So you just got to let it go or fair catch it or something. But we also need to be careful with our gunners that are blocking, not being too close to them, because I think that happened last week against Central Michigan, I believe, where we almost lost the ball, or maybe we did. Or no, we almost lost the ball because somebody got knocked into him or into the ball or something like that. But we just have to be really careful in our punt return because their special teams are very good. I think their returners are also extremely good. So that's another factor. So you kind of don't want it to be... You kind of don't want it to be overly close at the end of the game, I don't believe, with the special teams involved, with them driving, that type of thing. I don't think you want that. But prediction time. Here we go. I've been saying this. I've been saying this in comments and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm going to change it or not. But as of right now, I'll say we win. Michigan will win 27-17. I say 27 or 28-17. 27-17, yeah. 27-17. I think if we can get kind of that performance, kind of how we started off the national championship with Donovan Edwards breaking two big ones. Say Haynes breaks two big ones or something like that early on, and we hold them to a field goal and or 0, and we go up 14-0 or even 14-3 or something like that, then it may get ugly for them, because I still don't think we'll just run our heads into a wall. If they start to stop the run, I think we will still throw it a little bit and be able to spread it out and that type of thing. So that's what I'll say. 27-17, I think Michigan wins against Nebraska at Nebraska. I think it'll be a good game for us, and I think we'll be able to go into Big Ten play with confidence after this game. And we will be able to get some confidence from beating not a real opponent, but beating a better opponent. So it's not going to be a cakewalk, but I think we're going to take the game, and I've been confident about this since before the season started, and I'm still confident because when I was watching that Nebraska-Cincinnati game week 1, when I was watching it, and nothing really scared me about what Nebraska was doing. But then again, we'll see. So I'm not worried about the game. I don't want to come off as overconfident or anything. I just think we'll win. I'm confident in the fact that we're going to win. So 27-17. We lit. Tell your mama, your cousin, and your bro to like, share, and subscribe to the Dave and Blue Show. We lit. Yeah! Have a good one.